Welcome to Education Today. I'm Jordan Popoulos.
And I'm Tyler Freno from Katanning Senior High School, and we are hosts today. This year, we are going to try some new programming at Education Today. We will still have the trademark type of programming we have always had, but we are going to add some more shows about what's going on and in our district buildings.
One of these new ideas is to bring down members from each of our 4 high schools to tell us about their buildings and the type of work that they do for their buildings. This week, we'll take a look at electives at Katanning High School. Here with us today is Katanning High School TV production teacher, Mr. Don Swanson. He teaches one of the most popular electives currently offered at Katanning. Thanks for being here today, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you for having me.
How do you think TV production affects your students?
I think it's a pretty positive influence on most of the students. I think it's definitely a popular class. I think that the students that take it generally enjoy it. I think that of those students, there are a certain number that take it very seriously, and I think it's a chance for them to be creative and have a creative outlet and to explore something that influences their life every day, that being multimedia.
Give us some examples of some of the projects that your students have done throughout the year.
Well, we do the morning announcements, as you two would most certainly know, and that's a pretty common occurrence. It keeps us pretty busy down there. In addition to that, we did class skits and group skits. We film major events such as Mr. Wildcat, the musical. We'll be doing the talent show coming up. And also, the students right now are beginning their final projects. And in addition to that, they pick up special things as they come along, such as promoting homecoming, the prom, things like that. And some kids even go out on their own and do some independent work at TV1 and TV2 students.
Do you encourage the independent work that some students bring in? And is it always broadcast or considered?
There are certain things that we don't consider to broadcast, which gives the students a little more creative license. Certainly we keep it in line with what's acceptable by school standards, but what we broadcast on the morning announcements has to, by its nature, follow a certain set of rules and guidelines, but that can sometimes stifle some of the creative things that students come up with, so I certainly do encourage independent projects, yes.
Okay, thank you.
What would you say some of the skills that you're teaching your students are?
Well, I think aside from basic camera knowledge, editing knowledge, and things like that, I think I'm just teaching them how to, engage the media. And I know some of my students that I have in English as well often complain when I show a movie in English, like, that's wrong, or that was over here and now it's over there. And a lot of my TV production kids tell me that I've ruined movies for them because now they understand how it works, how it's put together, and how everything is a manipulated message to have a desired effect on the viewer. I also think that ultimately, it goes back to what I said earlier, that media literacy is a big thing that is maybe not always on the surface, but it's something that I'm always piling underneath whatever it is we do in TV production. And media literacy simply means your ability to read the media around you. I know as an English teacher, most English teachers would love to think that kids go home and read a book for 2 or 3 hours or something like that, but that's just certainly not the case. You watch TV, you get on the computer or something like that, and everything that you interact with in the media is constructed. And as a construction, it can be deconstructed, just like literary criticism. And so that's one of the big things that I try to plug into the side with TV production, is to make you guys aware of the media, aware of what the message is, aware of how it's constructed, and by that nature, aware of how you should engage it, how you should question it, how you should think about it, how much stock you should put into it, and basically not to just be spoon-fed information from the media at large, but to take a look at it and decide for yourself what you think.
So do you feel that kids today have more of a better understanding of today's media and what's going on in today's world than previously or times from before?
I think that kids today are definitely exposed to more media than at any other time in history, and I think because of that, you probably are a little more, by nature, more equipped to handle it. But I think by that same token, the overexposure of media that you guys have is also a reason why you need to understand how it's put together and what's actually going on with it.
Okay.
Well, I can agree with you that I can't watch a single thing now without thinking about everything you've taught us this year.
Sorry, Jordan.
It's okay. What would you say some of your goals for your students are by the end of the year?
My goals are basically just to be able to shoot well. Well, it depends on if you're talking TV Production 1 or TV Production 2. With TV 1, my goals are that students have a basic understanding of how a television show is put together, which we get from Education Today, and to a certain extent from running our morning announcements. Basic camera operation, how to shoot and how to shoot well, which for most students I've seen a vast improvement over the course of the year. Also some basic editing. There are a certain number of students that are interested in going on to communications, media, or film, or something like that in college, and even for those students that might not necessarily be interested in that, it's just so readily available now. You know, in addition to what you watch, I mean, everyone has a camcorder, everyone has a computer and can edit and screw around and put something on YouTube or something like that. So my hope is that students that leave TV Production 1 have a basic understanding of some of the rules of media literacy. You know, that I'm seeing this, but this is what's actually going on with it. And because of that, I can think through it. And then on a more practical level, just how to shoot, how to frame, the rule of thirds, all that kind of thing, and just some basic editing understanding, knowing that, you know, I can put this together, put it together like this, and basically produce some work on their own if they wish to do so.
Is that how you got started, like, with the media and all this? Was it an interest that you saw at your school, or just something that you thought you'd like to try out in high school and college?
Well, way back in the 1990s, when I went into high school, my high school didn't have a TV production class, and the option I had was in 10th grade for my history teacher, Mr. Clapp. I could do a 10-page research paper, or I could do a 10-minute historical documentary for Pennsylvania History Day. And even though I'm an English teacher, at the time I was 15 and not interested in doing a research paper. So I chose the documentary. And what we had at my school, which was Purchase Line, we had a back room which had an analog editing system, which was a VCR, 2 TVs, and an insert splicer in the middle. And basically what that meant was you found your clip on this VCR, you had to manually mark in point, out point, hit a button, it would assemble it, and you kept building literally piece by piece by piece by piece. And what would happen is if you screwed up 3 minutes back here, you'd have to rewind your tape, make the correction, then rebuild everything after that. And so to do a 10-minute video back then took a good 2 weeks.
Wow.
I would expect you guys to be able to do what it took me 2 weeks to do in like 2 or 3 days, easily. And that's what initially got me started. And my grandma had a camcorder that I got to borrow every once in a while. My friends and I screwed around with it, doing like little skits and things like that. And then when I went to college, I just kind of got interested in it and became a comm media major.
Okay. What has been your favorite memory of your TV production classes this year?
Well, I have a lot, Ferrano, but one in particular, as Mr. Poplis well knows, the day before Thanksgiving, the day before Christmas, and the day before Easter is a fun day in TV Prod. And each of those days, Jordan challenged me to Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, and I'm proud to say that Jordan finally beat me the day before Easter. So the record is 2-1, and Jordan pulled it out.
It was a glorious day.
It was a glorious day for Jordan. However, I would like to add that I had all my pieces of the pie. He just happened to land on the play for win before I did.
Someone needs to read the rules, though, before that they play.
But in all seriousness, some of the favorite memories I have are the special projects. For specifically the homecoming promo, which unfortunately wasn't your class. It was a lot of fun to do. The prom promo we're working on now, which again, unfortunately isn't your period, it's 6th period. It's a lot of fun to do, but in particular with all of the classes coming down here to Education Today. It's a chance to get out of the classroom, getting into a real working studio situation and producing something. It's a chance for you guys to become quasi-professional at doing this, knowing that it's going to air, and it's also a chance to kind of step out of the traditional teacher-student role and interact with you guys on a different way. So that's cool.
Yeah. Can you describe how TV production was started at Katanning?
Well, I was hired by the school district in May of 2004, and at the time I was a multimedia technician, the job that Mr. Chris Garitano now has. And Mr. Edwin Bauer, who was an English teacher who was primarily teaching public speaking at the time, was given TV production. And the district bought him a screenplay, which you guys have fortunately never had to work with. And he handpicked 4 students and another student that helped out when they could. And I worked closely with Mr. Bauer and those students, and we gained some interest. Mr. Bauer did have a certain level of control over who came into the class. He generally kept his classes small into just 1 or 2 sections. And he retired in 2008, and that's when I went down and became an English teacher and teaching TV production as well. And we opened it up. We opened it up so that pretty much anybody that meets the requirements can take the class. And as you guys are well aware, this year is the most successful year in terms of student numbers that Kataning's ever had. We have, I believe it's 53 TV1 students across 5 sections and 5 TV2 students as independent study. And next year our numbers aren't quite that good, but they're still looking pretty good. We have 40-some total students going to be given 4 sections of TV1 and hopefully an actual section to meet with TV2, which, Frano, you will be in, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any opposition to starting the program?
The program in terms of a class at the schools, none that I was aware of, other than I know there was some concern because obviously it's an expense. You know, it's high-end equipment and there's a lot of it in terms of editors and cameras and things like that. What has happened in the schools is directly tied to what happens here in the studio with producing education today. And there was some opposition to, you know, the school district going into a venture of starting a studio, putting a show out to broadcast. But as far as it boils down to as an educational matter, educationally speaking, it's a lab component for you guys. You know, we do this stuff to the best of our extent given the facilities that we have and the equipment that we have down at the school. And then you guys get to come up here once every 9 weeks and work in an actual working situation and produce a show that actually goes out to 80-some thousand homes.
Would you say there's been any opposition since the program has started, though?
I would say once we got through that first year, I'm not really aware of any opposition, no.
Okay. Are you hoping to expand the program at all in the future?
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. I don't know how much more I can push it given the reality of the situation we have at Katanning right now. I mean, given you guys know that our classroom is maybe the 4th the size of a regular classroom, I don't think we could fit another editor in there even if we mounted it on the ceiling or something like that. I think we pretty much maxed out what Katanning can physically hold at the moment.
Because of your class, do you think students are going to college for a film-based degree or will have an advantage?
Well, I think that, well, let me speak first to the latter part of that question. I think kids that take this class will have an advantage in one way that it's a seminar-styled class. You know, it's a class where there's a certain level of instruction, there's a lot of freedom, but of course with that freedom, as some of you very well know, there's a certain level of responsibility. And I think that the structure of the class is very similar to many college seminar classes. So I think in that regard, given how you are given the freedom, you are given the responsibility, you have an ability to work in around, but at the same time you have hard deadlines to meet and things of that nature. I think that's going to help any of you that are planning on going on to college, specifically to film degrees or TV degrees or video degrees. Shannon Walker is planning on going to the Pittsburgh Art Institute to major in film. There are several other students that are mentioning interest in communications as a major or a minor. Off the top of my head, Mr. Michael Hickman, who's running Camera 2 out there right now, is considering communications, and I know that Frano, you are considering it as a minor.
It's up there.
As
It's
well,
one of the
I believe,
considerations.
yeah. So what typically happens every year is there's a certain number of students that take the class because they're thinking of going that route, and it just solidifies that choice for them. And there's also a certain number of students who might just take the class because they think it might be interesting or something like that, and by the end of the year it's had such an impact on them that they're considering either majoring or minoring in some form of comm media when they go to college.
Okay, thank you.
Why would you say that TV production is an important elective?
Well, I think TV production is an important elective because it combines everything relevant to the 21st century student. I think first and foremost you're working with technology. You're working with computer-based programming, you're working with cameras, and like I said before, media literacy. I mean, you guys are more than any other generation before you, the media generation. And taking a class like TV production is basically helping you to navigate the media landscape in which you guys live. I mean, you watch, I know, fortunately I must be old or something because I never really got into the YouTube video craze. That must have started like right after me or something like that. But I know that you guys watch a lot of videos on YouTube. I know you go home and you watch 1,000 channels on cable. I know that you guys watch the movies. I know you guys have little things on your iPods and stuff like that that you can watch. And all of that is constructed. Everything that you're seeing is constructed. And it kind of goes along with the English adage that if you want to become a better reader, write. If you want to become a better writer, read. Well, for you guys to navigate, even for those of you that aren't necessarily interested in going on to this in college, by shooting, by editing, it's deepening your understanding of how the media you're coming across is constructed. And by understanding that construction, you're going to be better to understand the message, the bias, the influence, and just think for yourselves and decide what it is.
Okay. How does Kataning's class compare to other schools' programs?
Well, I can't speak to that a whole lot anymore since I've been teaching at Katanning for 3 years. I do still talk to at least one of the other TV production teachers on some level. I can say that Katanning and Ford City tend to be relatively close to one another. Mm-hmm. The one thing I do know that Ford City did do this year is they won a TVT award. That's something we looked into at the TV2 students that didn't pan out this year entering the competition, and that's going to be a backbone for of TV2 next year, is to get entered in TVT, and we're going to go to win.
All right. What electives would you have liked to take in high school?
What have I have liked to take?
Yeah, that you didn't have a chance to or didn't have the opportunity to.
Well, I went to again, it was the 1990s, and I went to a smaller school. It was Purchase Line, and it was a wonderful school and it's a wonderful education, but it's a small school that didn't have a lot of money. I would have loved to have taken something like TV production, but fortunately, through Mr. Clapp and the History Day project, I got to play around with the editing equipment there, and I edited different videos for teachers for the school. I ended up doing the History Day project the next 3 years. I did take newspaper in high school, which I absolutely loved newspaper, and it was kind of a seminar class, and actually the way I run TV production is loosely based on the way my high school newspaper class was run. In there I got to do photography, opinion, editorials, things like that. Some other electives I would have liked to have taken would have been psychology. I know that's something that we have. I think psychology is potentially a very fascinating elective. Drama would have been a nice elective, although at my school we did have plays and musicals, but we didn't actually have a drama class or even a club necessarily. So along those lines, other than that, I had band and chorus, and I was into the artsy stuff, so I got my fill of that.
Okay. Did you have any opportunities to take classes like this in high school? I know you've previously stated this, but were there any other classes like TV production?
For me, in my high school experience where I went to school, probably having the ability to do the videos for the History Day competition and taking newspaper kind of gave me the concepts of what goes into TV production, like the shooting and the editing, then the thinking and the writing and all of that as a structured class. So taking from those two things, I kind of got to get in this ballpark, but no, I didn't have an opportunity to take a specific video or TV production class like you guys have.
Okay.
Okay. Could you possibly divulge some of the juicy details about your illustrious film career?
Well, Jordan, I started in college and I went to film school, and I actually came to my degree in English is my second master's, my fourth degree overall, and I was actually on track to probably move to Vancouver to pursue a career in the film industry. When I met my wife, my priorities changed. Well, not my wife at the time, but I met the one that was going to become my wife. My priorities changed, and I had considered teaching since I was a sophomore in high school. My fear was I didn't know if I wanted to be like music, English, history. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it. My fear was if you go to school to be a teacher, what else are you going to do with a teaching degree? And I had a lot of other interests, and basically I was young and indecisive. So once I met my wife, my priorities kind of fell into place, and I was working here as a multimedia technician. I fell in love with working with the kids, with Mr. Bauer, with Mrs. Barb Keller at Ford City, and it just seemed like a no-brainer. So I moved into teaching, and here I am. Now, I do still do independent film work in the summers. I've had films screen internationally, win international awards. I've been reviewed in Germany, screened in Tokyo. I have like I told you guys in the class, over one of the older ghost story films, I have a small cult following in Belgium, which is interesting. So I'm still plugging away at it, and that's one of the things I love about teaching. It's something I'm very passionate about. I get to teach this and English, which are two of my deepest passions, and at the same time, I pursue the independent and freelance film and video work in the summer.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take a short break. Then when we return, we're going to take a look at some footage all about containing electives.
Before I came to IUP, I had no idea what college would be like or what role I would play or where I'd be in the future. But when I came to IUP, everything changed. I met people who really made me feel like I belonged. I had great classes at a great nationally ranked university. Hi, my name is Megan Miller, fine arts major, and this is my university.
We're back with Armstrong School District's Education Today. For your viewing pleasure, here's a short news package produced by Katanning TV Production.
What inspired me to take visual communications was my brother. He took it when he was in high school. He recommended that I take it because he really enjoyed visual communications, and he said I would really enjoy it too. We work on just about anything. Laser engravings is probably the biggest. BC1 though, you do drawings and AutoCAD. Alyssa Bowser is working on Marilyn Monroe coasters. I'm currently going to begin working on my graduation invitations for my graduation party, so that's some of the things we do. My favorite machine to use in the visual communications room is probably the laser engraver, because you can do so many different projects on it.
Right now we're working on CO2 cars, airplanes, hovercrafts, and remote control boats. Hopefully measuring skills, kids in here learn how to use tools, machines, anything with their hands, anything of that sort. From time to time we do a soapbox derby competition, you can see on the wall soapbox cars. We do hovercraft competitions, sometimes we do a battle model competition, and a lot of in-class competitions with robotic arms. Well, every day I do a short presentation about the project's design, and demonstrations are huge. Every day we'll do demonstrations on machines and project design.
Started out in the flute. In 9th grade I started playing piccolo as well, but mostly the flute.
If you had some words of wisdom to say to underclassmen to want to take this class, what would it be?
It would be try it for a year and see if you like it, because I almost quit after 8th grade, but I decided to stick with it and there are no regrets. It's so much fun.
Some of the things that you do in art class.
There's a lot of different things you can do in here. Watercolors, acrylics, clay, metal enameling. There's a lot of different things.
Beads.
And glass beads too.
Okay, we are out of time for today. We would like to thank Mr. Don Swanson and Josh Miklos for agreeing to be interviewed for our program. Also, we would like to thank Katanning's TV production class for producing this episode.
Please join us again next week for another look at Armstrong School District. Visit our website for updated information about the district, and have a great week.